this will be today's our first two-a-day, and had a chance first time we really tackled live, and you know, I think right now we're at that stage of there's been a lot of installation over the week, and sometimes your execution can suffer from that. There's a good group of guys that like the progress they're making, and there's another group that's got to stop thinking and play a little bit more.
It's your,
I'm guessing you like to redshirt Ingold and Orr, but what have you seen from them so far? Whether maybe it's not this year, but for the future that you like.
You know, I think addressing the first part of it. Okay. You know, we told all the kids come ready to compete, and you really don't decide to redshirt until really the end of the year. You guys know that being around it, so don't have a mindset other than dive in, and so I think as you know, still early in camp, and so we got to just see how all the guys progress, specifically Chryst and Alec, you know, getting a little bit more reps than say some of the other freshmen, and I like the group of young linebackers we have, and you know, like some that aren't getting as many snaps, you know, like with Zach Bond's showing in some, you know, different things, and you guys been around practice and noticed, and now we're getting a little bit more of the young guys, so kind of running two huddles, and you know, sometimes they're making mistakes, but you're seeing it and trying to work that out of them. So I like the group. I think it's a group that's got, talking about the young linebackers, they got good football intelligence. I think they like playing. You know, I think you see that out of the guys. So early, but like what they've done to this point.
What's your assessment of the backup running back situation right now through this first week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I thought both, you know, Dare and Taiwan retained, you know, and have gotten better since the spring in many ways, and yet I think, you know, particularly you see it on both sides. You know, offensively you can have 10 guys doing the right thing, one guy doesn't, all of a sudden the play looks pretty poor, and so I think there's, you know, they got to come to practice tonight. You know, they're not where we want them to be. Shoot, none of us are, but I think they're kind of where we thought they'd be in a positive way.
What are your early impressions of Shaw?
You know, I think, you know, swimming more in the learning, right? You know, to be expected. I thought he did some good things in the young guys yesterday, and I think part of it was because, you know, some of the young linemen knew what to do on those, and it kind of looked like a football play a couple times.
Hayden Beagle left practice early yesterday. Do you know about how long he might be out, and does his absence open up something for Benchwell on that side there?
Yeah, don't know. You know, on that one with Hayden, it's going to be truly one of those day-to-day, and absolutely opportunity, and that's one example of many where, and we're going to see it throughout camp, right? You guys have covered camps a lot. You're going to see it where, you know, one guy's out for. That's what that's what Chryst and Alec are getting a little bit more. And so what you do with those opportunities, and that's why I think to give yourself a chance with those opportunities, you got to be knowing what you're doing. And so there's going to be opportunities, certainly is for Bo, specifically at the right tackle position, but I think you'll see it throughout camp.
You see it at left guard though too, with, I know Ray was out here today.
Absolutely. Same example, right? So if we see it at one, we're going to see it at the other.
Were you hustling down the field on that one play to tell your wide receiver to maybe exert a little more effort on a block there?
I think it's the difference between maybe a touchdown and not. Absolutely, and I think that, you know, guys define their own standard or expectation. What they put on tape and the best them, then they got to be able to repeat that and do that over and over again. I thought it was a great teachable moment.
What's a healthy Jordan Frederick giving you this camp?
I think he's, you know, I see Jordan and I've enjoyed seeing him as a football player right now, and I think Jordan's a guy that understands the game, and you know, I think he's still working through some things. I think all of the receivers are, but I think he can give us, and he's played significant snaps, and he's got to be able to do that and do it at a better level. You know, our team's going to be as good as we can. I think it starts with your seniors, and they got to have their best year, and he fits right into that.
You spoke highly of Dieter before camp, and I think you said some nice things about Dietzen too. What has Dietzen shown you in camp so far?
I think Dietzen has shown when he knows and gets comfortable with it. I think, you know, we're excited to have him. I think he's got a lot of the qualities you want in a good offensive lineman. And you know, Dieter, I think, is you know, as a young guy, he understands it quicker, and he knows what he's preparing for. His standard, I think, is pretty high, and he sees it that way, and he works at it. And I think he's one guy that can benefit tremendously from this camp. You know, I like the way he approaches it. He's always locked into it, seems like to me, and I think it's good because every guy needs that to be their best.
Well, why was it important to have Inoki here, and what impact can he have on the defensive line rotation?
I've been fortunate to be with Inoki a number of years now, and I was around him as a player, and a ton of respect for who he is as a guy and how he approached the game, and then being around and getting to coach with him. I think it's everything that I think is good in a coach, and it's knowledge and knowing how to teach to help guys, cares tremendously about those players, and I think when a player knows that their coach cares about them and can help, you know, those two things together, I think he brings an energy to this group, and I feel fortunate to continue working with him.
Well, can you kind of explain the process you go through with Joe Rudolph in terms of week to week when you have a head coach like yourself that likes to be really involved in the offense and likes to call the plays, and how much does it help when you have an offensive coordinator that you've been with for a while?
You know, I think it helps when you're with and you know all your coaches, and especially then when you're starting to talk about a lot of the schematics, and because a lot of that starting point is there's a philosophy behind it, right? And then if you agree on those big things, we've been around each other enough, and yet we've been around enough to know and be around different kinds of guys and have done different things. And I think there's a trust factor that we both want the same thing, both believe and have confidence in each other, and know the other one has confidence in us. So we're not afraid to challenge each other, you know, looking at it a different way, right? All those things. And I think that, you know, one of the two coaches I've talked about, those are maybe two of the best coaching jobs I've seen. You know, what Joe did with, you know, in coaching. Now, he didn't do for Lance Kendricks, but he was part of coaching and developing a guy. And Inoki with, you know, Aaron Donald with Ford, just great examples of coaches that care about guys, have great knowledge of the game, and know how to teach it. And for me and Joe, there's a lot of stuff that we believe the same thing in, and yet enough that I think we push each other and continue to grow.
Any surprises the first week? You know, you got pads.
Yeah, and I think there's some of the not surprises, but I've appreciated seeing Dakota Dixon. You know, guys that you didn't see in spring, and I think with the new, I think you're always appreciative. You know, we thought because we can be around them now in the summer a little bit more, so you don't have maybe that early camp surprise. You know, had a sense that Alec and Chris Orr, you know, guys that weren't with us, were smart guys, and even athletically you're around and you see different players. So it's a little bit, I think there's maybe a little bit fewer surprises, other than ones that maybe for me personally, you know, I hadn't seen Dakota play. You know, so you kind of see his burst and his energy and kind of his football awareness. So I don't think there's as many surprises are. You just kind of keep gathering the info on them. But my guess is there's fewer surprises now than there used to be.
On Sunday, of media day, you were talking about all the uncertainty on the offensive line. Are you pleased where you're at now? Joe was saying there may be 3 locks right now for starting.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Are you pleased with the development at this point?
I'm pleased with the way they're working, you know, and we just got to keep going, keep grinding away at it. And I think it matters to the group, so I'm pleased with that. But not at all. It's not at all looking like we want it to look right now. Let's not say we're not pleased. You know, you appreciate what they're doing, but we got to keep going.
A day like today with what the turf is, a nice advantage to have this field here for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's good just this point, you know, camp. It's a physical time, you know, and I think it's good to get up in the grass. I think it's good to change. You know, you see the, you know, you got to be a little bit truer. Sometimes now with the turf, you know, you can be a little bit more out of body. So you see more guys slip maybe up on the grass than on the turf, and they got to learn to control their body. That's why a lot of our strength training conditioning this summer was up here so they can feel their body. And but really want a group that doesn't matter where we're at. You know, there's lines painted and there's a football in there, they go play. All right, thanks.